I welcome you all to today's episode on Spotlight on the Word. We are still in the month of October, the Ladies' Month, and today we bring to you the topic A Healthy Christian Lady. My name is Ama Asima Afum, and I'm going to be your host for today. And here with me, I have two special and important guests. But before I introduce them, if you haven't subscribed to our channels, please do so. Subscribe, like, and share. Tell your friends to join in and watch so we all get educated. Now to our guests. I have here with me Mrs. Gloria Arthur Kwanzaa, and she is a registered general nurse. And then she is a member of the Sunyani Central Church of Christ.
Thank you, Doc.
Okay. And the next is Doctor. I'm saying Doctor. I'm stressing on it because she's newly and fresh graduate of UCC, Dr. Regina Abusi Mensah, and she's a member of the Nungwa Church of Christ. Dr. Regina, you are also welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. And thank you very much for honoring our invitation. Today, the topic of our discussion is a healthy Christian lady. And we are going to base on two broad topics. The first one is going to be on the breast health, and the second one is going to be on reproductive health. So, starting, I would want our guests to say anything that they have to say. If they are happy to be here, whatever that they want to do, a general thing that they want to say today. So, I would want Doc to start. Then after, Mrs. will say something.
Okay, so thank you very much. I'm very glad to be part of this year's Women's Month. And then after this discussion, the goal is to empower Christian ladies to take charge of their reproductive health and sexuality. And then it should be based on the scriptures and everything we know about God. So this is to help us all. Okay, so we'll start with the breast cancer. So we know that the breast cancer is the leading cause of, yeah, is it me? Hello, it went off.
Hi.
It went off.
Yeah.
Okay, so breast cancer is the leading cause of death in females now, and then it's a bit worrisome. I know people have their own myth about breast cancer. People have their own opinions, but by the end of the discussion, we'll have a fair idea about what breast cancer is. It's going to be very basic things you just need to know: the signs, symptoms, what to do, and everything. So I hope we are able to meet our target for today's discussion.
Okay. Now, looking at what Doc just said, then I can see that we are already blessed because we are going to be really enlightened. Please follow
Yeah.
to the end. If you just joined, continue to follow to the end. Now, Mrs., please, whatever you want to say.
Okay, I would also want to say that I'm very privileged to be part of today's program. And just like Doc said, I hope that at the end of the day, whatever impact we want to have on our fellow Christian ladies, whatever discussion we are going to have will be impactful so that together we'll be the healthy Christian women we all want us to be. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Healthy, we are healthy already. We are blessed right now. So, we are going to start
Uh,
with breast cancer. So, please, intro. Both of them are going to give us a brief introduction on what breast cancer is. So, what is breast cancer? Mrs., please begin with.
Okay. And so, thank you very much, Doc, for the question. I would like to begin by giving just a brief highlight on what cancer in general is. From our basic knowledge in science, we know that cell is the basic unit of life. So every human being, every organism is made up of trillions of cells. And so
Yeah.
cells come together to form tissue, tissue comes together to form organ, to organ system, and then to organism, which is the human being.
Yeah.
Cells has got its own way of dividing. Cells grow and then divide, and then at a point in time, it dies off so that new ones may come and replace them. There is a process in the body we call apoptosis, where damaged cells are being removed from the body so that they do not cause extra harm and new ones will come to replace them. And so, under normal circumstance, normal cells will grow and then cell division will take place so that it will have daughter cells and daughter cells will also divide and then it will go on and on. Now, what happens is that in cancer, as the cell divides, there could be an abnormal cell. Instead of apoptosis to take place so that the abnormal cells will be damaged by the body, the abnormal cells in this case do not get damaged. Rather, these abnormal cells tend to divide at an uncontrollable rate. For the normal cells, they divide and we know the process of cell division. But for the abnormal cells, they do not go by any principle. And so they divide uncontrollably, and it is you cannot control it. And so the moment you have abnormal cells dividing and forming daughter cells of its own kind, it spreads within a very short time, and by the time you realize, it has taken over a major part of the body and to start causing issues. And so I would say that breast cancer simply will mean that there is presence of cancer cells in the breast. And so these abnormal cells we are talking about, which ideally shouldn't have been there, have found its way into the breast tissue. And unfortunately, it is dividing uncontrollably and taking over the normal tissues that are supposed to be there. I think that would be my definition for breast cancer.
Okay, so the Mrs. has given us a lot, apoptosis and all, how cells generate to become tissues, to become organs. Thank you very much, Mrs., for educating us on this. Now to Doc, please tell us something about breast cancer.
So we know that the breast is made up of small, small cells, and they come together to form the breast tissue. So, we all know the changes we see during menses. Before you get to your menstruation, you realize that your breast becomes larger. After the menstrual cycle ends, it comes back to normal. And for females to during pregnancy too, the breast size increases and comes back to normal. And this is because the cells of the breast is acting on the hormones. So your body produces estrogen, progesterone, they act on the cells. Once the hormone levels go down, everything comes back to normal. But for some women, these cells respond abnormally. Some decide to multiply, some decide to hypertrophy, and they don't come back to their normal size. And that's what leads to the breast cancer. But the actual cause, we can't say is due to this or that, but it's due to the abnormal responses to the hormones the body produces. So that's the mechanism of breast cancer in female. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Doc and Mrs. for this information. Now we know what breast cancer is. So we are moving on to the risk factors of breast cancer. And I'm going to begin from Mrs. So Mrs., please, what are the risk factors of breast cancer? And then how will someone say that I'm prone to getting breast cancer? What are the risk factors?
Okay. Thank you very much, Doc. Like you rightly said, and like Doc also said, the cause of cancer is actually unknown. We cannot pinpoint on a specific cause that brings about cancer. However, there are risk factors that can predispose one to having cancer. And so we are going to mention some of the risk factors. Number one risk factor is gender, of course. The mere fact that you were born a lady predisposes you to getting breast cancer. Unfortunately, we stand 99% chance of getting breast cancer, and the male also form just 1%. And so there's a high likelihood of 99% that since you are a female, you can be affected with breast cancer. There's actually a study that was done in US, and according to this research conducted in US, it says that when you pick about 9 women, 1 out of the 9 women will ever be diagnosed with breast cancer before age 85.
Wow,
Unfortunately,
one
we
out
know
of
that there
nine.
is very yes, and that's how alarming breast cancer is. Before it wasn't as alarming as we have in the USA and Ghana, but unfortunately now due to some changes in lifestyles and other things, you're also
Yeah.
predisposed to it. So the first one I'm talking about is gender. After gender, another predisposition factor I'll talk about is hereditary. And so we have genetic hereditary. And so you have people who have the breast cancer running in families. There's an example of this Hollywood actress by name Angelina Jolie. I think he went
Yeah.
to do genetic testing and he realized that he had over 85% chance of having breast cancer. She had actually
Mhm.
lost relatives, mother and others to breast cancer. So she decided
Yeah.
to do both breast cancer and cervical cancer. And then she got to know that she has high risk of developing it. And so she underwent mastectomy, which is taking off the
Yeah.
breast tissues. And so if it runs in your family and you have family members who've ever had it before, then we would encourage that you also take proper look at that. Apart from that, I also talk about aging. Of course, we already know that as you age, a number of things in you also change. Ideally, the rate at which cells are supposed to divide and then form new daughter cells and all that will quite be impaired as you age. And so aging is number one cause. And so you realize that for people who have breast cancer, usually they are not young. They are not, say, most of them are not adolescents, but they are usually they may be aging. And then also
30,
another
40. Okay.
predisposing factor, very good. So another predisposing factor can also be studies show that the use of estrogen therapy, hormonal therapies for people, for women who are in their menopausal age. Some people will still want to look fresh. You know that the work of the estrogen will help you to grow and all that. So even while they are in their menopause, they will take hormonal supplements, injections, and all that so that they can still look fine. And so the studies show that menopausal women who are into the use of more of these hormonal supplements stand a risk. We also have other factors such as lifestyle, like eating too much of fatty diets. Yes, fatty diet has also been linked to it. We also have other substances like exposure to radiation. And so the harmful effects of the rays may alter the cells and then may also cause cancer. We also have a number of factors such as having your first pregnancy after 30 years. Unfortunately, yes, having first nulliparity is also a factor. If you haven't given birth and then you give your birth to your first child after 30 years, studies show that you stand a risk of having it. And then menarche, first menstruation before age 9, also is a risk factor. I mean, there are a number of them, but I think these ones are we can relate to some of these ones. So that is what I can say. Thank you.
Oh, wow. 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 There are lots of the risk factors. So, viewers, I hope you got it. She talked about gender, age. Wow. So, wait, I have a question for Mrs. Please, if I am
Okay.
fat, if I am fat, like if I'm heavy,
Okay.
my BMI is also
Okay.
very high.
Yes.
Does that
Obesity.
predispose me to getting okay? Mm-hmm.
Yes.
What
Obesity.
will you say
Obesity
about
has
that?
been
Yeah.
okay. So obesity has also been linked to. In fact, obesity has got a link to almost all the cancers that we have. But studies show that obesity will affect the hormones that the body produce, and in turn, like in the introduction, doctor was trying to explain, obesity have got as excess fat tissues have got influence on the hormones that the body make, and so obesity is also part, like you are saying. One I forgot was somebody who have ever had history of breast cancer.
Yeah.
So let's say you've ever had history of breast cancer, but depending on the stage, you got to know that you had breast cancer, and then maybe later on you got free, and then but the fact that you have ever been diagnosed of breast cancer, whether you had to undergo mastectomy of one breast and the other one left, you still stand another high chance of developing breast cancer for the other one left.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs.
You're
Now,
welcome.
will Dr. Regina want to
Doc,
say
I would want to
something
add something
or add
small to
on?
the risk factors.
Exactly. Okay.
Yeah. So, as she rightly said, something like obesity, it increases the hormones in you, your estrogen, progesterone. And as I
Okay.
said, the breast cells respond to the estrogen and progesterone you have in you. So, when you're obese, you have more of the estrogens and progesterone in you. So, these estrogens or these hormones will be acting on your cells. So, there's a high likelihood that your cells will respond to the hormones and then decide to multiply or hypertrophy. Then
Okay.
one thing about the family history, sometimes there's mutation to a gene called BRCA1, BRCA2. So if you have such mutation in your family, you just don't have to wait till you get the cancer. So that's why people would want to do mastectomy, even when they don't have it. I also wanted to add something about the gender too. So it's very common in women, but when you see one in a man, we treat it very vigorously. It's likely to be very conscious and then destructive. So when you see a man with signs or symptoms with breast cancer, you really, really want to investigate and make sure that it's well treated and managed.
Okay.
So anything that increases the female hormones, estrogen, progesterone in a woman, predisposes you to having breast cancer. So menarche is the first time you have your menses. So if you're a young lady and you have your menses at, let's say, age 11, and then your menopause is at age 50, it means that the hormones will be actively in you for about 39 years. Your estrogen, progesterone, you'll be menstruating. Those hormones will
Yeah.
be active in you. Do you get it? So early menarche and then late menopause can predispose you to having breast cancer because the hormones will be active in you. And then the use of contraceptive, the oral contraceptive, they have substances similar to the hormones produced in the body. That's how can prolonged use of oral contraceptives that containing progesterone and estrogen can predispose you to having the breast cancer. It doesn't mean you shouldn't take it all, but it's a long-term effect. Anything that increases your hormones, estrogen, progesterone, over a long time can predispose you to having breast cancer. I think that's all I would
Okay.
want to add.
Thank you very much, Doc, for adding on. I have a question for both of you. I don't know who would want to answer, but this is my question. You all talked about we going for checkup, going to see if we have the genes that will predispose us into getting breast cancer. Now, if I just walk into the hospital, let's say I want to know if I have these genes, where do I go to? And is it expensive? All that will happen at the hospital. What do I do?
Okay, so this testing it can actually be done in the hospital, especially when you have a strong family history. You are aware about it. Your auntie has it, your grandmother has it, your cousin has it. It's very strong in the family. So when it comes to the hospital, such investigations can be done for you. So
Okay.
when you come under their management, we talk about it. So you can consciously do your. I think we are going ahead of ourselves.
All
So we
right.
talk about that in the
Doc said
screening.
they're going to talk about it. So then
Yeah.
I'm relaxed. I'll wait for it then because you tell us to go and check and you don't tell us where. Like, I mean, I just walk in. Maybe I'm going for a regular checkup. Yes, so I am pay checkup here. Yeah, but anything. Okay, so Doc, please
Yeah.
now take us through the signs and symptoms of breast cancer. How do I know that what will show that I'm getting breast cancer or I have breast cancer?
Okay. So here I'm going to mix the English and Chi because breast cancer, I want our women to understand it well. Into breast cancer,
Okay.
I'll be just say bia unufu ye kete kete I want to make breast cancer now unufu ye kete na ubenya
And
breast cancer. People think so what's a breast cancer just of hospital you could try unufu and all that. It's not always the case. Early detection is very, very key. And so you are there, you realize that oh, before your menses, unufu bɛyɛ kɛseɛ kakra na aba back to normal. All of a sudden, ayɛ kɛseɛ ɛnkɔ fam. And I say unufu no is becoming smaller and harder. Breast cancer doesn't always mean so unufu bɛyɛ kɛseɛ. Sometimes it shrinks and becomes harder. So those are some of the signs. Any changes in the size of your breast. And sometimes you see a lump. So in chi, apo, like banku, apa, you see such lumps
Ababa,
in your breast.
Aba, I did say Aba.
Ababa, yes. And sometimes you have pain in your breast. It's painful, it's swollen, it's reddish. The skin has even changed. Sometimes the skin looks like the peel of an orange. Yes. Then you realize that your nipple that used to be out is now retracting. Well, no, and so echo inside. Uh-huh. Echo inside instead of pointing out pointy echo inside. Sometimes once I saw for baby I crew, that's worst case, not just say that one is getting very bad. And sometimes you have abnormal discharge from your nipple. So if you are not breastfeeding, you don't expect any discharge from your nipple. Yes, but if you have any greenish, foul smelling discharge, it could be yellowish, it could be dark brown, it could be bloody. All those things are alarming. So let's take it again. Lump in your breast, changes in the breast size, um, the skin of the breast, when it looks like the peel of an orange, when you have pain, when there's ulcerations, ekro abetoto onufu no ho, when the nipple is retracting, onufu na no no, eko inside, all those things can. So these things, when you see them, you don't stay at home. Just come to the hospital. If there's something wrong, we'll let you know. But if you see any of these signs, it's equal to I have to go to a hospital. Yeah.
So Doc rightly said, if you see any of these signs, please don't stay in the house. Don't to Mika in a hospital, and she's available to help you out. Please, Mrs., would you want to add anything to the signs and symptoms?
Oh, okay. I think Doc has said it all, but what I would want to ask is that the thing about breast cancer is that at the early stage, it is very unlikely that you detect signs and symptoms, or you may see. Usually, it's at the progressive stage that we usually are able to find out some of the changes, like Doc mentioned. So when we get to the diagnosis, we get to see some of the means through which you can detect it at a very early stage, even before you can see some changes that may have been observed in the breast. But as we are there, even before breast cancer signs and symptoms come in, I think we should observe ourselves, especially the breast. We know that the breasts are not of the same size, but definitely the difference in size is not so much. And so if one is getting bigger than the other, then it gives you a clue that something may. But if you don't even know your own body anatomy, you don't even know how the size of the breast and all that, then at a point in time you may get confused about it. Apart from that, I think the rest have all been discussed, as the doctor said. Thank you.
Okay, thank you too. Okay, and your Mrs. Mpacho Twasumaya, take us through the diagnosis. How do we diagnose breast cancer? Me kwa omobe me den ombe me den ombe me den and who say more breast cancer. Please take us through
Okay.
it.
Okay, so for the diagnosis of breast cancer, the first thing I want to talk about is mammography. Mammogram. And so it's a machine where your breast will be laid on a surface, and then an x-ray will be pointed towards the breast. And the good thing about mammography or mammogram is that it's able to detect the cancer cells or the abnormal growth at a very, very, very small size, even before it becomes palpable. So to mean that answer na obey breast self examination who's a lamp over the mammography it me boa ma wohu as little as the lamp can be crampo and can centimeter detecting. It helps us to it can detect it so that prompt action can be taken. We say that usually before age 40, at least everyone should have should have had the mammogram done before age 40. But the question is how many of us has ever even done it before? Uh-huh. And then the availability of
But
it. It
with
is
the
very
mammography, Matisse is very uncomfortable. Inti young queer no is it I've heard say uncomfortable. What would you say about that?
I mean, you are choosing between your life and comfort. I don't know if life
That is
after death will
true.
be
So
more comfortable.
okay, there's some slight discomfort, but it's not painful. I mean, it's very
Ah,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Uh-huh. And so even with a slight discomfort, I think that quiet day. You are not sweat there. And so you'd rather choose your life. And so we periodically we advocate that we should have it done, especially as you are aging. After 40 years, getting to 50 years, at least you should have it done at least once in a year or once in 2 years. But as you advance in age, then you need to do it more often. Away from mammography, another means of diagnosing breast cancer is through breast self-examination, what we shorten as BSC. And then the studies again show that over 90% of cases that was brought to the hospital as being breast cancer was through breast self-examination. So breast self-examination, like we rightly said, you may have seen some changes, but most often you may not have even noticed any change. You may not have even had any pain in the breast tissue, but you stand before your mirror and then you do your breast self-examination and you realize that you press on a certain part and there is pain. You want to palpate and then there is a lump, like we already explained. And so breast self-examination, ideally, it should be done what we do is that in breast self-examination, we do it 1 week after the onset of menstruation. As ladies, we know what kind of wahala that comes with menstruation. So
Yeah.
when you are menstruating, you already know that some people would have tender breast. So the breast may feel quite heavier and it may be quite painful on touch. And so we would not advocate that you do the breast self-examination within, say, the week to your having your menstruation, because at that time you may mistakenly attribute the pain to an abnormality that is happening in the breast tissue. And so we say that usually a week after the onset of menstruation, or at most 1 week after menstruation, by then the heaviness may have been resolved and the tenderness may have been resolved. So if there are any abnormalities, it's easier to detect it. And so breast self-examination is also another means through which you can, I think maybe we would explain what the steps that we take in breast examination later on. But apart from mammography or breast self-examination, sometimes ultrasound can also be used. And so for ultrasound, it can be done in most of the hospitals. At least it's a basic thing that we do. So ultrasound can be done. Apart from that we can also have higher, like MRI can also be done, which are all forms of X-ray, but advanced forms of X-rays that can look into the deeper tissues and bring out sometimes even some CT scans. But ideally, mammogram is what we would usually advocate that should be done, because it's able to detect it even at the barest minimum size.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much, Mrs. So now Mrs. took us through breast self-examination. Maybe Regina will take
I'm
us through
sorry.
the
I'm
steps.
sorry. I'm sorry. Please, can I add up something?
Okay,
Another
go
thing we
ahead.
also do Another thing we also do is tissue biopsy. Tissue
Mhm.
biopsy. What tissue biopsy means is that sometimes when there is you can feel a lump or an abnormal growth inside there, we can incise into the breast and pick out the tissue, some of the tissues inside there, and then we undergo through testing and see if there are abnormal cells in there or the abnormal tissue. And so tissue biopsy sometimes can be done. So it takes, sometimes it could be a needle aspiration. You would withdraw some fluids in the breast if you have, and then other times we can take some of the breast tissue and then underrun and see if there is a presence of any abnormal cells, and then we start management from there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs.
Oh,
Mrs. has really educated us
Yeah.
on the diagnosis of breast cancer, breast self-examination. Now, I even saw on social media someone said we should teach the guys to do breast self-examination because the guys really like breast. Our husbands, they like breast a lot. So let's teach them how to do breast self-examination so that they'll perform it on the wives. What do you think, people? What do you think?
okay. I'll talk about the diagnosis, how to
Okay,
diagnose it, but
okay,
let me
sure,
answer your
sure.
question. So the self examination. Sometimes you can let your significant other monitor for you. I guess they are also
Significant
familiar with the
other.
breast.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, they are very familiar with the breast, so they can tell. Oh, yeah, I said there's something wrong. There's a discharge. They can actually help you. You get it. So yeah,
Yeah, they can.
for the
Oh,
married
okay. Nice. Thank
couples,
you. Thank you,
that's
Doc.
always
Please, you're
sufficient.
allowed significant others. If you're working, you're allowed, okay. But learn how to do it before you start. Okay. So,
Yeah,
Doc, please, would you want to say anything about the diagnosis add-on?
yeah. So the diagnosis, a lot can be done. A lot of things can be done, but some of the things, because we want to know what to do, the hospital staff, I wish we leave it for the doctors and nurses to take it up. But I would arrange it in this order. The self examination is very important because that's what you can do to help yourself. So either you are doing it by yourself or your significant other is helping you. And then as you are doing it carefully because you are looking for something, right? So you can do it. The best time, Gloria mentioned that a week after your menses, that's cool. Like let's say 3 to 5 days after your after your menses, because at that point the tenderness would have gone down. So you can do it, but randomly every morning you can stand in front of your mirror and do the examination. If you find anything strange, you come to the hospital. Now at the hospital, a lot of things can be done. So if you are less than 40 years, usually we'll do ultrasound. Then if you're above 40 years, we'll do the mammogram. Sometimes, depending on your presentation and then your family history, we can decide to do both, or we'll go and look out for the genes that causes it. So a lot of things can be done. And with the biopsy, it's also an option, but it doesn't apply to everybody. So as when you come, the examination findings, after the mammogram, ultrasound, the findings will tell us what to do next. So the core biopsy, that one, we just want to know this lesion in your breast. It's not all the time that you have a lump in your breast and it's cancer. Sometimes they are benign. Sometimes it's just a fibroadenoma, those tumors or those lesions. If you remove it, it will come back again. If you remove it, it will come back again. It's not cancerous. So those ones, we won't remove it. But it's the core biopsy that will tell us the type of lesion it is. So for our Christian ladies, please learn to pick up the signs. It's very dear to me. Pick up the signs, come to the hospital, and then you have wonderful nurses and doctors to take you through the rest. The CT scan, MRI, they all depend on what you are presenting with. If it's necessary for them to be done, it will be carried out. But right now, what we should do to help ourselves is to be conscious about our body, how to identify the abnormalities, and when to come to the hospital. But everything Gloria said, I agree to it. Yeah.
Wow, wow, wow. Today, I don't know, the information is too much. It's too much. Nurse is giving us, doc is giving us left, right. Please, you need to take one or two things. Even if you're not able to take everything, if you're watching, try and get everything. They've taken us through risk factors, they've taken us through signs and symptoms, diagnosed. Wow, thank you very much. Now we are going on to the prevention. And Doc will take us through, like, if I just hope that we listen to this prevention and follow it thoroughly, because we wouldn't want to get breast cancer. Or my chair, a quiet best pastor, so please let's listen to the prevention. How are we preventing breast cancer? Doc, please take us through.
So this one too, I want to say it in Twi and English so that
Okay.
my people, the women, you're in my heart. I want you to understand very well.
Okay.
So the diagnosis, the self-examination, then you examine. Maybe dear Gloria will help us with the examination, but
Yeah.
that's it. Then for the prevention, into Obabia, we mentioned say Ubu Santem, now I menopause in a year later, I very likely say ubetimania breast cancer. Into the ubetimaya say self-examination, be conscious about your body. Your breast is very important. Into self-examination can help you prevent a lot of things. The other thing is breastfeeding. If you, God helps you, you're married, you have your children, make time to breastfeed. Because the time out there breastfeed, it also serves as a source of natural contraception. So during that time, your hormones goes down a bit. And I've told you that once you have a lot of the hormones in you, you have the tendency of having the cancer. So if you take advantage of pregnancy, you take advantage of breastfeeding, it can also be a way to prevent the breast cancer. And we said obesity. Obesity increases the female hormones in you, your estrogen, progesterone. So what then do we do? You have to check your diet, exercise when you can. So the dieting, I know my girls. If I say nkodi fufu bekodi, if I say nkodi kokonte bekodi, if I say so me, I don't give advice. So eat what you want to eat, but make sure you by 4, 5 you are done eating and eat healthy. It's not about how big the food is or how large, it should
Wow.
be well balanced. You enjoy your meal, eat them very well. Your breakfast, don't joke with it. By 4, 5, you are done eating so that you can reduce your weight. And then if you have a strong family history, mommy will be, grandmother B will be, your cousin has it. What are you waiting for? Are you waiting to see? Be conscious. Come to the hospital. If you can't do the self-examination for yourself, you come to the hospital. Doctor, please, and then there, I want you. Yes. So basically, those few things can help. And then the use of oral contraceptive, the hormonal one. So let's balance it. So if you have your partner, the natural method, if you can use them and you're religious with them, you can do that. Sometimes you do the hormonal because we've also mentioned that the long-term effect, not one day or twice, a long-term effect can lead to the breast cancer. So the hormonal therapies we are also taking, you just have to be conscious about them. Yes. Maybe Gloria
No,
will say
no,
something.
thank you, thank
Okay.
you. May it healthy before Mrs. come in. It's healthy. No, I come a pound because then I'll come bankuni for friends. Yeah, you did bankuni fast. I'll say after. Okay, okay, okay. I say
Me,
evening.
my favorite food is fufu, but eat it
Ah,
early. I eat fufu,
early.
I eat kokonte, I eat everything, but eat early. So if I want to eat those things, maybe in the afternoon, I enjoy myself. In the evening, maybe I take fruit or I take oats. Balance it. But enjoy your meals, but let it be healthy. And so
Thank
with
you
the
very
food,
much,
it's not
Doc.
book, it's back.
Thank you very much, Doc. And that's in your someone. Yeah, young pet fruits near the idea. Obi can say. I also saw on someone state or say Ghana has say a yibo vegetables need food to boy a bear near or home. Then you're the kujina baby to kinky 2 cities, kinky 3 cities near a dear. And yeah, no. Oh, it's healthy. No, Ghana Hana and Casascano. Okay, before I'll let Mrs. add the prevention.
Okay. Okay. So I think that all have been said. Doc has said almost everything about the prevention. What I would want to add on is that as part of the risk factors, taking alcohol intake and smoking is also noted as one of the risk factors of breast cancer. And so, and before, ladies were not into alcohol intake and then smoking, but now it looks like it looks like the
Oh, bro,
table is
cry,
turning.
remember, no?
Yes, it's getting serious. And so,
Yeah.
because the cigarette has nicotine and all that, that have effect on the body cells, we want to encourage that, if possible, as Christians, we should avoid it. Not even reduce the intake of them, but avoid it as Christians. Also, like we said, for the dietary management, we would hammer more on fatty intake. The intake of now it looks like the KFCs and other things are taking over because if we are cooking
Drunk,
with
not those.
if you're cooking with momone and sasawa,
Okay,
and then you're
and I am
choosing
for
between them,
KFC. As I walk, I want me this thing. Hey,
of
hey.
course, we would choose KFC over the momone, the sasawa, the adrenaline, and the rest. But almost also anymore. And so, like Doc rightly said, even if you are taking it, you take it in moderation, and then you make sure that you take in some fruits and vegetables that will help you digest them earlier, so that do not in turn come to harm you. Again, on diet, we would also advise that we take more of fruits that are rich in vitamin C. Vitamin C has got link with the health of our body cells. And so you take fruits that are very rich in vitamin C. And they are very common. And a typical example of such fruit is orange, the everyday orange that even if you are holding 50 pesos, you can buy. And so an orange a day
Fifty
accessible your
pesos.
Now
something.
two
And I
cities,
am
so
orange. Orange
Really?
is very, very expensive.
yes.
Just one. Just one,
Yes,
no.
yes, one.
Okay. Okay,
But it's
but
not it.
I think relatively
Yeah, yeah.
it is worth the benefits you get from it. So, and then let me touch
Okay,
a little on the breast self examination. I think Doc referred
okay,
that I should
okay.
touch a little on it. So, like she rightly said, the breast self examination, from the word self in it, it means that number one, you are responsible for your own health, and so you can do it
Yeah,
by yourself. And like she said, you can also visit a health facility so that the nurses and then doctors can help do the examination for you. I think periodically sometimes we hear that there is the breast examination going on. Some NGOs will come together, some hospitals will come together and organize some of such a hand. So if you are fortunate to hear, I would encourage that you partake in some of uh, those exercises if you cannot do it by yourself. Again, if you want to try it at home, we have some basic steps that you have to do. First of all, you can have visual inspection and manual inspection. So visual inspection to mean that you can stand before a mirror. When you're standing in front of the mirror, I'm sorry, but you have to be topless and braless. You have to be
Yeah.
high. Your breasts should show. And so you stand and then you hold your waist like that. And so when you hold your waist, you're able to free the breast and see how
free the
visualize the
boob,
breast
free the
very
boobs.
well.
Okay,
Okay, and then
okay.
uh, what you do is that as you're standing in the mirror, you're observing the breast. So all the signs and symptoms that doc talk about holds here. So you're observing the size of the breast. You're observing if there are some dimpling in the breast, if there are some puckerings. You're observing if you are developing inverted nipples, like he said, like she said. You observe. You go around and observe. You can turn to whichever side, but observe the breast very
They
well.
change your
What we
styles.
also
Yeah,
do is
you
that
change your styles. Oh, mirror you.
yes. Apart from observing the breast manually, you can use your hand. Usually, we advise that you use these three fingers. These the first three fingers to palpate the breast. We have steps that you go through, but you
At your
palpate
palpate, no, palpate, you move
in
in
circular
Tiasio.
motion.
Like you
Okay,
are pressing
umia.
your breast against your chest.
Palpate, you move
Aha.
in Tiasio.
Hold on, Sayem. You want to feel something, so you don't do this crab hand. No, free your
Not with
hand
the
and
tip.
use this side.
So you don't go with the tip of your hand. You will not feel if there is any. So you go with the flat palm. And then you press the tissue. So you press it hard against the chest. And so you can start from the axilla. You can start from there, and then you go in circular motion all around the breast. So you go, if there is nothing, the final thing you do is that the nipple, what you do is that the nipple itself, you have to squeeze the nipple if there are any discharges, and you observe the color or the consistency or whatever fluid that came out of the breast. If you're not breastfeeding and all that, you don't expect some discharge from the nipple. So you press the nipple hard. A lot of people are comfortable doing it in shower. A lot of people are very comfortable doing it in shower, and so you can grease your palm with your liquid soap. So that on sana be kakra. And so abasa it mean fat breast, and you're able to do the palpation very well. And so sometimes even in shower, you can grease the palm with liquid soap and then go around in a circular motion, but you don't do it soft, because if you are very soft and there is pain inside, and then let's say there's a lump inside hidden very deep inside, you may not even touch it or feel the pain. And so you press it in a circular motion, like we said. So apart from doing it in a shower, you can also lie down on your bed flat. You should lie down flat, not sit on the bed, but lie on your back. And then you see that when you lie on on the back, depending on the size of the breast, if the breast is bigger, you see that it's a bit
Session
a bit
chain, a bit.
and so and look how reduce size nama, you can be able to feel it's better. And if it is, even if it is not big and it is still small, it also help for you to be able to feel all the other sides. So it can be done by standing in front of a mirror. It can be done by lying on your back, on your own bed, and it can also be done in shower, whereby you use say soapy water or with, and then you try to palpate. And all the observations that you observe, if each abnormal observation that you think that you have found out, you have to keep them, otherwise document them. What we do is that you don't do self-treatment. Anything abnormal you find, you have to report to the facility so that we pick it up from there. We say that it is not every lump that you find in the breast that can be attributed to breast cancer. The fact that there was a lump in your breast doesn't mean that definitely you've had cancer. That has been the fear. And so I will not even do the breast self examination with the fear of not finding out anything. Yes, time. And I wouldn't even
Yeah.
so you have to, some of them are benign, like we already said. It could be a benign growth that it can be taken off, and then you will not have cancer it will not be cancer at the end of the day. I think that is what I want to add.
Oh, and that's the part. Now, all the significant others and our beautiful ladies. Now we know the breast self examination, all trims and our palpating. Now, when so cast me, ha. Number two, yeah, the oil so a ya say, any the bema on some na ye bia, and now oil dear, and ya allowed.
Oh, you are just greasing your hand, and
Yeah.
if okay, I think doctor wants to come in.
Okay.
I don't want
Doctor,
my
do you want to
ladies to
come in?
say they
Oh.
don't have oil, they don't have lotion, so they won't do. It's not a limitation. Oh. You can, I mean, yeah, you feel it. will be, I'll be, you say fine, but I mean, it's not a limitation. So if you don't have oil, you don't know. You
Until
can
when
actually
you
do it in the
wow.
hospital. You can do
Use the
it.
just
Just as a,
mm,
I don't know. Do you have balls or pompo? What don't say this why you feel there's something there?
Yes, you do.
Sort of. See, when
Mm.
you or your crowd on sanitary
But
soil
yeah,
and
yeah.
draw there's a lamp.
Then please, we have no reason to say we cannot do it. You have no reason to, I don't have it. It's
No
only excuse.
reason at
Yeah.
all. My
Wow,
girl.
wow, wow.
Yeah.
Any asuma. Oh. Now we are going to end our discussion on breast cancer very soon. We are ending it with the management. But I hope we will not get there. We will not get there because but if you have it too, there's no harm. You just go and get the treatment as soon as possible. But yeah, any being so I hope we'll not get there. We'll prevent it as soon as possible. Like saying into market can we in now train and when ya na wakɔ hospital and a treaty as a na ayɛ tenten. I hope we'll not get there. Yeah, any being but will be so our management no. Actually, we take it from Doc. So, Doc, please take us through the management of breast cancer.
Okay. So with the management, it depends on time out there by the grading, staging of the tumor. So when you come to the hospital, as we said, we take your history, we are looking out for the signs and symptoms. Then we'll do examination. After the examination doctor nankasa ebehwɛ wo nufu ana nurses obia doctor no bɛhwɛ or feel BB or anything suspicious. The next thing you'll be asked to do ultrasound or mammogram or both, depending on what is found. Then depending on what is needed at that point. If then the next thing is to do a core biopsy. It's a year examination, a year mammogram, a year ultrasound, your biopsy, a year biopsy, you are trained. We are now a histopathology, a person grading, staging, a person like those are very specific things. So we do all that. Into a oh, it's benign. It's benign to say you be just the aba, you be just a no film. So but people are scared, they just say oh buy and you be trying to food. You don't do that, okay, girls. Please, my ladies, let's not be worried. The hand say obe bantem into a benign into if it's benign, a ban keke ni be. I told about you come after all the investigation, find out it's a fibroadenoma. Fibroadenoma is very common in young ladies. Yeyi cry sabeba nti ɛno koraa wodu watchful waiting. Yɛtumi aka kyerɛ sɛ wode kɔ ɛwɔ mu a na waba wohu sɛ aba no ayɛ bebree, wohu sɛ aba no ayɛ kɛse a come to the hospital. Nti ɛtɔ da bi koraa aba koraa won't do anything to you. We just observe you and see if it gets better or it gets worse. So that too is an option. But when you come and it's malignant, yeah, biopsy, it's malignant. There are so many options. Sometimes you do your chemotherapy, you do radiotherapy. Mastectomy too is an option. Do you get it? So you have surgical, non-surgical, depending on the presentation. The non-surgical, obeba, it has spread. It's not just in the breast, it's in your lungs, it's in your liver, it's everywhere. That one, we might not even touch your breast because it's beyond the breast now. It's in the brain. It's scattered everywhere. That one, what in if you actually to do palliative care. Even if you do mastectomy, it's just palliative. Oh yeah, and then my chest, near mouth, and then my heart, then that's palliative. So surgical, non-surgical, obana ye benign, we just take that lesion out. Obana ye cancerous, we'll do mastectomy plus radiotherapy and hormonal therapy if needed. Obana ye fibroadenoma, you can do watchful waiting depending on your age, and then later on, if it gets better, if it becomes bigger or smaller, that's what will determine whether the surgery will be done for you. So and breast cancer, if it's breast cancer, you need to pay a baby at the Bema say you the melting. So my ladies, they go and they're like, no, be say, I beg you. Ochewa fee, Ochewa bontia. You're worrying yourself. Yes. The wait into Beba hospital no now is equal to mastectomy. Nobody has that.
True, true.
Nobody comes to it attend the best for you. So Oba and Chema, yeah, investigation earlier to the be a penny, come on. you get your radiotherapy, chemotherapy, you're fine. Oba, and who here? So
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Doc. Doc has said a lot, but I hope our ladies will not wait till they get to the
mostly
palliative
it's what.
care. I hope we will not wait till we get to palliative, supportive. Now, yeah, my para because this year a do liver, a do lungs. Please, our ladies, let's not get there. And that is why we are having this video. They've given us a thorough discussion. And then Regina Doc is saying is dear to her heart. Wakan tree, wakan English. So please, we don't have
Oh,
any excuse. Wakan na Doc, but where we are now, but fast.
oh, Gloria should add up, and then if
All
anything
right.
comes up,
So,
chip in.
Mrs., please take us through anything you want to say about the management.
Oh, okay. Thank you. So, like we rightly said, I think just like Doc said, we can group the main management into three. Deducing from what she rightly said, we can have chemotherapy where we use drugs to manage you, of course, depending on the stage that you may have gotten to. We can have radiation where we use rays, target the rays on the abnormal cells. And then lastly, you can also have surgery. And so the surgery, there are times that we will not even take the breast, the whole breast tissue out. We just take a portion of it depending on how it has spread. And then we have metastasis. In metastasis, it may have spread to other regions of the body, like nearby organs and even to organs that are far off. And those one, like she said, we have to do palliative care. It means that you have to treat it symptomatically based on the symptoms you present, and then we help to manage the pain. And like you said, we hope that we do not get to that level. Thank you.
Wow. Wow. I really don't want us to finish discussion because it's so educative. I really don't want us to finish. But our time is far gone. And so we've ended our discussion on breast cancer, but as we said, a healthy Christian lady. So we'll allow them 5 minutes each. Our guests have really done well, and then I say thank you very much. But then I'll give all of them 5 minutes. So I'll give Mrs. 5 minutes and then Doc 5 minutes. Tell us something about general reproductive health. Any advice they have for we the lady aside breast cancer. See, say they are breast cancer and see ladies month when we've been blessed. Anything breast, ya can't want nti sɛ significant other na ɛbɛyɛ o sɛ wobɛkɔ doctor hɔ sɛ waa wobɛyɛ o it's up to you. Let's not get there ebia. So now 5 minutes to both of you, please. Doc, start for us. Tell us anything, any advice you have for we ladies. This is our month about general reproductive health. Maybe if you want to say something about our menstrual cycle, anything.
Okay. So the reproductive health, if would also need 1 hour like this. So Asima,
Yeah.
we'll schedule that for our Christian
Another
league.
okay.
Yeah. But now I'm coming down to a sister and a Christian level with my girls. Right now, all I will say is that take charge of your life, take charge of your health. Abnormalities are easily found. You know your menstrual cycle, you know your body, you know yourself. Anytime there's something different from what you know, come to the hospital. You know your cycle. By now, you should know the length of your cycle 28, 30. You should know this month, Amber, this month, Eba is too much. This month, Eba is painful. I've been observing for the past 6 months, changes be Aba, moja to me dodo. I'm feeling bloated. I feel a mass in my abdomen, my acid, acid be before. All those things are differences are who body. That's why I don't need anybody to tell you. You knowing your body, come to the hospital if you find any of these changes. Then the next thing I would also want to touch on is the use of oral contraceptive. Ideally, if we can, abstain. I mean, that's what God, we are Christian ladies, right? Abstain if you're not married. But if you decide to use them, be careful. All those things are not 100%. It will fail you. Put God first, put your career first, build yourself as a woman, and don't mess up yourself. Abortion is a no no. Don't call me, don't test me. You give birth if you call me. Yes, I know it's now legal, but if you are talking as Christians, then
Yeah.
we know the do's and the don'ts. So let's take charge of our life. The use of emergency contraceptive, we'll pay for it one day because it also has a lot of side effects. The hormonal substances in there are very high. The dosing in the emergency contraceptive is very high. So imagine you taking this almost every day, about 4 or 5 times in a month. You are going to have some side effects. So in general, please take charge of your life, build yourself, build your career. Abortion is a no-no. We are going to build ourselves to become better people in the future. Christian women who will be supportive to their husband and build a lovely family. Thank you.
That was awesome, Doc. Doc said, "Don't call her. Don't text her. Don't tell her if you have abortion, please." Agnes, please give us and let us end.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we are ending the discussion on a good note. The last thing I would want to talk about is that as Christian ladies, I am pleading that we maintain our purity. That is the substance we have, and so talking about the a lot of STIs, HIV, hepatitis, and the rest, it is due to promiscuity. And so, as Christian ladies, I think we should be able to keep ourselves for God and then in wait of our prospective husbands, and God will not fail us. Before we end, I would like us to conclude by reading something from 3 John chapter 1, verse 2. Having learnt everything today, 3 John 3 John 1, verse 2 says that, Behold, beloved, I wish above all things that you may prosper and be in health, even as thy soul prospers. And so I pray that every Christian lady, every woman listening to us will prosper and be in good health in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Amen. We are blessed. Okay. So we've ended today's discussion, and thank you all very much for following us to the end. And I hope you join us next week for our next discussion too. Thank you all. Thank you, our guests, for honoring this invitation. God bless you so much. And see you
Amen.
next time. Bye.